Well, hey guys, it's Joe again with your local farmer. And well, once again, here it is. I'm posting the video and I have to give an apology before I post the video. Folks, let's just put it this way. Our business has been doing phenomenal lately. Our little farm here has just been going to beat the band. The only problem is I haven't had any time. And unfortunately, the way that life works is that it's the spare time that I have in life that I have to dedicate to doing videos. So there it is. I've got content to put up. I've got, videos that I've shot. I can't get them edited and put online because, oh, shut up. Anyhow, I can't get them edited and put online because I just don't have time. But hey, here's a video for you. This is a speech that I gave at our local Grange several weeks back. And, I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any comments you want to throw out there, feel free. And other than that, we hope to see you real soon. Okay, I hope to get more videos up here real quick. Okay, you guys have a great day. I am. Let's just say I'm a low-key kind of guy. If you have a question, throw your hand up. I don't care. Interrupt me. I don't care. It's that's what we're here. As far as I'm concerned, we're here for the discussion. So what I'd like to talk to you guys today about is agriculture in the 24th and 1/2 century. That's a joke. That's a callback to Daffy Duck.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, but don't worry, I talk loud, so you'll be able to hear me. That's a callback to Daffy Duck cartoons from back in the day. But agriculture in the 21st century, specifically, from the perspective of let's just say a younger farmer. I'm not exactly a spring chicken, but I'm 47 years old, a little younger than, a lot of the farmers we have out there. So I'm going to start out with just a little bit more about myself. We already talked a little bit about, some of the boards I sit on, things like that. Obviously, 5th generation farmer, born here in Clark County. Went to Prairie High School, graduated in 1993. Immediately joined the United States Marine Corps Reserve after that. Super fun. Yeah. Spent 6 wonderful years doing absolutely nothing. We called it the Clinton Corps. We went nowhere. We did nothing. And by the way, perfectly split the goalposts between, I was too young for the Gulf War, too old, or had already gotten out by the time September 11th happened. And so, where was I? Met my beautiful wife in 1996 and got married in 98. Started having kids right away. Unfortunately, one of the parts with meeting a cute girl is that you got to also figure out what you're going to do for a living. And so I, first of all, finished my associate's degree at Clark College and immediately got a job making money, if you will. I started working for a construction outfit and later driving semi-trucks. And so what I call the lost years is between 2000 and 2010, for a 10-year period, I sat in an aluminum box and drove a semi-truck. I logged 850,000 miles in a semi-truck in a 10-year period. And I hated every minute of it. And so, actually, the worst thing that could happen was actually the best thing that could happen. In 2010, when the economy started going down in a hurry, my wife and I prayed about it, and we made a decision. I was going to quit work. I wasn't making any money anyways. So I quit work and I went back to school and finished my bachelor's degree. So in 2012, I finished at WSU Vancouver with a BA in business management. And like I said, hard decision to make, best decision I ever made. So anyhow, I spent a couple years selling farm machinery and working for Clark County and a year ago, a year and a half ago, my parents came to me and said, Mom's not doing extremely well, her health is in decline. Could you come back to the farm and help us run the farm? So that's how I kind of got to where I was, or to where I am, excuse me. I want to talk a little bit about the ag economy in Clark County. Okay, the ag economy in Clark County, let's just say from the 1940s and 50s up till today. Okay, and we can go even beyond that. The 30s, 40s, and 50s, the U.S. had what I would refer to as a demand-based economy or a demand-controlled economy. I think is a better description of it. And that's when the US government was controlling the amount of certain crops that were made, okay? We have a story in our family of my dad asking, well, why don't we just grow our own wheat for our chickens when we, instead of buying it? My grandfather said, well, we just don't have base, as they called it, to grow wheat, because the US government controlled wheat. And I think everybody can agree that, farmers weren't super wealthy, but we were all doing well. Everybody did well, and to hear my dad talk, he goes, shoot, he goes, if you were farming 150, maybe 200 acres, he said, everybody was well off, When he was 19 years old and started custom farming for people, he describes it this way, he says, I had more money than I knew what to do with, But that was, 1971, 1972, so where did that change? Well, it really comes back to the fact that we had an election. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had an election in 1968. By the way, for those who didn't know, I wasn't born in 68. But no, 1968, Richard Nixon was elected president, and of course, who did he elect as his ag secretary? Anybody? Earl Butz. Okay? Earl Butz was an ag economist from Purdue University. Okay? And what Earl Butz decided to do is, let's take this ag economy, this demand-controlled economy, let's turn it on its head, and let's beat everybody at their own game. Okay? So this is how it worked. We're going to take the base numbers away. We're going to encourage everybody to farm. Tell me if you've heard this phrase before. Fence row to fence row. What we are going to do as a nation is we are going to crash the commodity markets, but we will support you with subsidies. Right. We're going to support you with subsidies so no one will go broke. And for a brief, for a period of time, that worked really well. Okay. The US government was making, that's where we got into corn, wheat, soybeans, right? We were a commodity country. And the more commodity you could make, the more money you could make, and man, we were living high on the hog. Until when? Until about 1980. For those who don't know, 1980. Here's a little bit of trivia for you. 1980, the USSR invades Afghanistan. What the heck does that have to do with American economy and agriculture? Well, the only thing we traded with the Soviet Union in 1980 was we sold them a little bit of wheat. And it wasn't even a large percentage of their wheat usage. It was like, 4% of their wheat usage, but we sold it to them. So if we want to do an embargo, we sell you some wheat. Okay, I guess we just won't sell you wheat. So a whole bunch of Pacific Rim countries heard this. And although everybody who says this is paraphrasing, of course, if the US is going to use food as a weapon, we aren't going to deal with it. So overnight, all of our Pacific Rim country trading partners dried up. And in 1981, I'll tell you, we have a friend who farms in South Dakota. And he says in 1981, when they harvested their crops, they had a big co-op. And they would pull sheets of plastic out and dump the wheat on the parking lot of the co-op. And he says that pile stayed there for 4 years. They wouldn't trade for it. They wouldn't take it. On top of that, we get into interest rates that are shooting up. Next thing you know is the banks going bankrupt in the Midwest. Farmers getting called on loans, and they don't have the money to pay the loan, and the banks are going in the tank, and then we have the farm crisis. That is what we call now the farm crisis. Okay. So what am I setting up there? Essentially, what am I saying that created for Clark County specifically? Okay. Here's the problem. When profit margins are this big, what is the only way to make more money? Farm more. To farm, number one, to farm more, and number two, to farm more efficiently. Okay? That's the only, and even today, and by the way, even in the 21st century, that's the only two things that every farmer, whether it's the Midwest or wherever, that's their only two variables they're working on. Can I farm more efficiently? And can I farm more ground? That's it. So the problem is, here we are in Clark County, and 1980, there were still a whole lot of folks in Clark County that felt that a 20-acre parcel, that's a big field. Is it a big field when you're running a 400 horsepower tractor and a 35-foot wide disc? Nope. Can anybody tell me what's our largest parcel size in Clark County? Well, zone, Ag 20. Ag 20, yeah. Why? Well, because somebody decided. Yeah. On top of that, and my apologies, folks, I've been working on taxes all week. Yeah, so I had this grand idea. I was going to have a display here. Somebody here recently showed me a map of the current zoning of Clark County. And if you pull up the map, it is, okay, you would expect zoning would be, okay, you have the what they call rural centers, Battleground Center, Ridgefield, okay, and then everywhere in between is just ag 20s. Nope. It is just dotted with 2.5s, 5s, and all of these. And it's just completely broken up. Now there are some sections. We've got some beautiful sections just out here along 72nd. Yeah, those are still ag 20s. But they're rare. There's about the only spots left in the county, this and a handful of others. And so the problem is, what we're dealing with when it comes to, now, keep in mind, I'm specifically talking about commodity agriculture. Commodity, cattle, hay, grain, if you want to do commercial berry production, you want to do commercial tree fruit production, something like that. Now, when I say commercial, I mean I'm going to grow it, I'm going to sell it to a packing house, okay? You got to have acreage. We don't have the acreage in Clark County. That's what we're dealing with. On top of that, okay, I just brought up, commercial tree fruit production. Do we have a tree fruit packing house here? No. I have some good friends. We're very close with the Cotton family, the Silver Star Farms over in Fresh Prairie, and they grow or have grown commercial berries. You ask them, where's your nearest packing house? Don't quote me on this, folks. I want to say it's like Malala. So is there one kind of nearby, sort of? But it's not in Clark County, that's for darn sure. So I think there might be one up in, or there was one up in Woodland at one time.
They just do their own stuff now.
What's that?
They just do their own stuff now.
Well, that's where it's kind of neat. We are very, like I said, very close to them. We work with them quite well. We are helping them to convert to direct market. Okay, and that's ultimately where we're getting is how can you be productive in Clark County as a farm? Well, you got to, as we used to say in the Marine Corps, improvise, adapt, and overcome. You got to adapt, and that was back in the mid '90s. As I was graduating high school, it was actually my younger brother Doug that started raising sweet corn. And the reason he did was we had a family down the street from us on 119th that raised sweet corn. The only problem was you could never tell whether they're going to be open that day or not. It was one of these things. They did sweet corn, they just didn't do it really well. And it wasn't about good production of corn, by the way. It was just some days they were open, some days they weren't. They didn't have hours. They just kind of, So my younger brother, the first year, he says, "I want a computer." Went out there and worked his little butt to the bone and bought himself a computer. The second year, he went out there and doubled his profit, made twice as much. And it was about the third or fourth year that my dad started looking at it saying, I'm hearing that this direct market stuff could be the way to go. And the rest, as they say, is history. So, really what I'd like to say is snake bug. There we go. Saved you guys. You guys are safe. to say, as a young person in Clark County today, young farmer in Clark County, one of the things that I see is we have to create an environment where farmers are willing to look at other possibilities or other types of agriculture. And I got to tell you, I've got a great analogy for that. First of all, show of hands. Who here has been to our store to buy, berries or things like that? Been through our market? Okay. So this is only about 9 or 10 years ago. My mom is in there manning the counter, selling strawberries like mad. I mean, just a line of people out the door. And a lady comes through. Her name was Mary Nielsen. Now, Harry and Mary Nielsen lived over on 117th Avenue, okay, just north of where the Winco is now. Their place is just now being turned into an industrial park. Yeah. Poor Harry is probably rolling over in his grave right now. Mary Nielsen comes through the store, and she sees my mom, and she pats her hand, and she goes, "Oh, Peggy, it's so nice to see you. It's so sad to hear that Bill isn't farming anymore." That one has a small battery. My mom is just flabbergasted. She goes, "What do you mean, Bill isn't farming anymore?" And Mary goes, "Oh, well, honey, we saw he sold his combine." Okay. If you guys have ever watched cartoons, we're like Scrooge McDuck out there swimming in our money at night now. I'm kidding, folks, we're not that rich. We're sitting there going, my God, if we would have known, this is what it was like to do direct marketing, we would have done this 10 years ago. But she's going, oh, he's not farming anymore, he sold his combine. And we're going, really? But I will tell you, again, as a younger farmer, one of the things that we're dealing with is there's an awful lot of farmers that look at agriculture, they look at what their dad did, they look at what their grandpa did, and they went, I want to farm like them. And I'm going, that's wonderful. That is a wonderful sentiment. But you know what? I want to be a farmer who farms in the attitude of my grandfather, but is profitable and is going to be here for generations to come. And that's what I'm seeing. There's an awful lot of folks that say, I want to farm, but all I want to do, and I'll give you an example, all I want to do is buy my cattle at the auction yard when they're young. I want to feed them up and then sell them to, take them over to the feedlot and sell them and get my check. And then they look at it and they go, only this much? And you're going, well, yeah, that's how much they pay for fed cattle. What if you took them and you butchered them? Actually, and now here's the catch. We realize this is easier said than done. You got to take them to a butcher facility that has USDA inspection, and then you go down to the farmer's market and you sell them piece by piece. Anybody want to take a wild guess what we're selling beef out of our store? By the way, it's, so we are selling not organic, but it is USDA certified, locally grown, grass-fed beef. It's from the Stauffer family. If you guys ever heard of Stauffer Dairy up in Washington, this is Will Stauffer and his wife Jocelyn. Okay, take a guess. How much a pound for ground hamburger? Keep going. $8.99 a pound. Okay? Now, my brother, I love my brother. My brother says you can't sell it that. Nobody will buy it. Funny. There's an awful lot of people that don't know that in Clark County. Because we're just selling it every day. I mean, we're not selling tons of it. We're not running Winco out of business or anything like that. Folks, I'm not trying to blow your mind or anything like that. All I'm trying to say is there is people looking for fresh local. But if we can just get these farmers, and I apologize how that sounds, if we can get farmers to start looking at different ways of selling their product. Is it as easy? No. Is it, are there some barriers? Yes. But is there profit to be made? Hell yeah. Heck yeah, there is. And that's, I gotta tell you, the short version of what I have to say is, that's where I'm seeing there's possibility for agriculture in Clark County, is we've got to get people wrapping their minds around this concept of doing ag business in a different manner. Okay, what? Questions? Anybody have questions? We're at a nice little breaking point here. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious where people are taking their beef to agriculture, because nobody's taking beef, they're taking elk and
Right.
deer.
Right. And of course, in that regard, the key would be, of course, the USDA certified. Two parts of that. Number one, as I understand, there is a USDA certified slaughter facility in Centralia, I think, and I think there's another one, and my apologies, if you're interested in finding one of these, I can hook you up with somebody who can direct you in the right place. I don't know where they are. I want to say there's another one in like Silverton or something, okay? However, let's just say with all of the logistics things that went on with COVID, I do believe that they are still, to this day, so backed up that some of the folks we work with, well, like the Stoffers, they are actually making slaughter dates, booking slaughter dates for pigs that haven't been born yet. Yeah. Last I heard, some of these facilities were a year and a half out on their slaughter dates, and the problem is you got to book now, or you don't get an opening. So, yeah, okay. So that's one of the cons to trying to do any of that. Yeah. By the way, that brings up a very good point. Facilities, infrastructure. We don't have that in Clark County. God, do you know how helpful it would be if we had a butcher facility in Clark County where all of these farms, I mean, okay, if any of you drive out North County, out around View, and you see all of those fields with there's nobody has 200 head, but 15, 20 all over the place here. Well, what if we could bring them down in Clark County and butcher them and sell them locally at a much higher price? But we've got to build the infrastructure for that. So yeah, not to mention, there's a possibility that Washington State has looked into the possibility of creating an alternative to the USDA stamp. Please don't quote me on this, because I'm not a legislator. But what they've talked about in the past is to create a Washington State Department of Ag stamp that if it was born, grown, butchered, and sold in the state of Washington, we could sell it with that stamp and it would be the equivalent, if you will. I just recently had an opportunity to talk to the Washington State Director of Agriculture, and Derek Sanderson is his name, and he kind of poo-pooed it. He says, "Oh, there's a lot of problems with it." I'm like, yeah, so let's fix the problems. Okay, that's what legislation is for. And he was like, "Oh, that's okay." Anyways, sorry, I'm kind of a problem. I'd like to be known as a problem fixer, So anyhow. Any other questions right off? I've got a list of questions here that people had emailed me. But if you guys have one, anything? Go ahead.
So we're in comprehensive plan update in Clark County 2025.
Yes.
And their projection population projection hearing is next week.
Yes.
The council. It looks like probably somewhere around 100,000 people they're projecting.
Right.
Or so. Which moves that urban growth boundary out further on all of the cities. And so that's going to put some more pressure on obviously rural lands. What's your thoughts on that?
Good thoughts or bad thoughts?
Both.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta tell you, my mind, my ADHD does not handle that well, only because I'm just jumping to all sorts of different variables. First variable I don't know that I believe their numbers. And my dad has a phrase that he loves to use: figures don't lie, but liars can figure. And so we're sitting there going, okay, number one, if your population projections aren't correct, the whole thing is moot. The other part of that is, and this goes back to the whole zoning thing, and by the way, I think everybody in this room can understand, we've had many county councils in the last 30 years that have been very friendly with their development buddies. And that's fine, except that we only have a limited amount of ag land, and once it's gone, it's gone. Gone or broken up, I guess that's the other part, is, it's really hard to put these parcels back together, let's put it that way. The other thing is that there have been many movements in the past couple of years. My dad's been involved in several of them to try to, for instance, to do purchase of development rights or what they call transfer development, kind of two in the same, if we're one in the same really. Transfer development rights says if you're going to develop property, you need to go out to the rural areas and essentially purchase for a limited period of time, let's call it 30 years, that for a 30-year period, that parcel out there in the countryside will not be developed. And I have to tell you, as a businessman, that actually really my ears are perked up, because I'm thinking, shoot, you've got interjection of cash into the ag economy, I mean, we're not talking billions of dollars, we're talking, okay, there would have to be an open market to be able to sell these development rights at a market price and things like that. But as you can imagine, the developers don't want to do it. But like I said, we've got to do something to control that urban growth boundary, and to, if you will, to really hold the county council's feet to the fire to keep the sprawl within that urban growth boundary. Because as the sprawl comes out into the countryside, we're losing ag land in a hurry. We're losing ag land in a hurry. We really are. That brings up another point, by the way, too. One of the things I think we are seeing in Clark County, not just within the development community, but within the ag community, or should I say the ag property owner community, is we're seeing that an awful lot of these folks that own the ag land, they kind of already have their mind set. I've been looking for 30 years to the day when I can sell and develop and take my check and move to Arizona or wherever. I've got my mindset up for 30 years, I'm focused this direction. And if you say, I'll give you a great example. There's an outfit I am starting to learn about. I'm really interested in what they're doing. I want to become more involved in what they do. Washington Farmland Trust. So what they're doing is they are purchasing up ag land at fair market value, at development value. And then they're offering low interest loans on people that want to start being farmers. Now tell me this, if you're getting the same dollar amount for your property and you still get to move to Arizona, what's it to you whether it does or does not become houses? However, one of the things, and I apologize, this is kind of only like reading between the lines on a conversation I was having, is talking to this gentleman from Washington Farmland Trust. He's like, a lot of these folks, they don't want to talk to us because we're strange, we're different. And if you will, for 30 years they've been looking in one direction, and they already know that the so-and-so's over here, the Aho Constructions, and we got to do something, or it's gone. So I got some questions that Patty had emailed me over the other day. So why don't we just burn through a couple of these. First one, what are the biggest challenges going forward for Clark County farmers, and what solutions do you suggest? Well, the first one, like I said, ag land preservation, okay? The ability to purchase ag land, okay, show of hands, who here's heard somebody say that before, that hey, I'd like to get into agriculture, but I can't find a place to buy. That's right. by the way, I hear there's a governmental organization called Farm Service Administration. It used to be called Farmers Home Administration. My parents have let's just say a cautionary tale, if you will, about how farmers, back when it was called Farmers Home Administration in the 90s, they did not want anything to do with this weird direct market thing. They wanted farms, if you were a farmer, you raised a single product and you sold it to a single customer all in one go. You took your grain to the elevator and they paid you a check. That's how they were, that's how they were designed. It's now called Farm Service Administration, by the way. I understand that they have now changed their operation, their focus. And if you come to them and say, I want an operating loan to start a new direct market farm, I guess they will, here's a shock for you, they will actually talk to you now. They will actually take your questions and actually answer you. So that's good to hear. I apologize, that's all I know about it because we don't work with Farm Service Administration. So anyhow. Other challenges for farms in Clark County, as I was saying, I think the big challenge in Clark County is really to get the focus changed. To get farmers to understand that there is profit to be made, but it just looks different than we did in the past, okay? And then, of course, there's one last thing, and this is something that is really big in our family. And the sad thing is, in Farm Bureau, we give this a ton of lip service, and then we go around the table at our local Farm Bureau meeting and go, who is actually working on this? No one is. That's farm succession planning. In other words, folks, none of us are going to live forever. Who are you going to leave your farm to, and are you setting them up? I'll look at it this way. The day I die, does it matter what my kids, okay. Does it matter what my kids do? Yes, it does. Okay. But I see this as I can tell you this there, folks, and don't tell me you haven't met farmers like this too. They want to control the farm from the grave. I say that, tongue in cheek, but it really is. It's like, gosh darn it, I would rather this farm burn than to let my kid run it the way he wants to run it, or my nephew, or, right, yeah. You've met a few farmers, haven't you? Yeah. So I will say this, farm succession planning, and again, I'm talking about a mentality. A mentality that, you know what, that organic CSA producer that wears that gardens barefoot all the time, and talks about how she sings to her plants and stuff. At the end of the day, she's farming too. Is it weird? Yeah. Is it okay? Yeah. And you know what? If she pays her bills, it's fine. He or she, doesn't matter. Or maybe it's a he that wants to be referred to. I don't know. All right, I went too far with that. Sorry, guys. Okay. How friendly? This is the next question. How friendly is Clark County government to farms and farmers? I got to be honest with you. I think Clark County, and when I say Clark County specifically, I really have to say the Clark County Council. I think the Clark County Council loves farms, but they're misguided. I think Clark County Council loves farms, but they love developers more. And then they don't understand why we're losing farms in a big hurry. Anybody else have that thought too? Yeah, sure. I don't think they hate farms. I don't think that's it. I don't think that Gary Midvigi drives down this road here and goes, stinking farm, I wish that was just pavement. No, of course not. But I don't think they think through their actions is really what it comes down to.
Follow up on that.
Yeah.
So there's council and then there's the bureaucracy or the
right.
Workers, whatever.
Yeah.
So you told us council, what about the organization, county organization?
I don't care about that. No, I'm just kidding. Hey,
They're the enforcers.
What's that? No, they really are. They really are. I got to tell you guys a quick story, quick analogy here. So my last job before I came back to the farm was I was the site manager at the Clark County Heritage Farm on 78th Street. Okay, that's where I met Roger. came and asked me about tree fruit, which no offense, Roger, I know nothing about tree fruit. It's a specialty that we've just never done.
You did good.
Okay, hey, they're still
You guys
alive,
going in
so
the right direction.
there you go. Hey, so here's the thing. I worked at the Clark County Heritage Farm. Again, 5th generation Clark County farmer. In fact, it was only a number of years ago that I figured out, like everybody, I had 4 grandparents. Of those 4 grandparents, 3 of those families had lived in Clark County for 100 years before I was born here. Am I tied to the county? A little bit. Yeah. Do the decisions we make, are they important to me? Damn right they are. Okay. So we start from the council. The head at that time was Eileen Quiring. She was the chair. She had spent most of her life in Oregon. Now she was from Brush Prairie. Her dad, I didn't realize her dad was the.
He baptized me.
Oh, did he? Okay.
I married him.
Oh, did you? Okay.
He married me.
Okay.
Right. But she spent, and I don't want to offend her, but she spent most of her life in Oregon. Okay. The county supervisor was Kathleen Otto. Now I've never met her, but I hear that she's a local girl. I think. Okay. Under her was the head of the Parks Department, a guy by the name of, it was Eva Haney. He was replaced by a lady named Eva Haney. She was the head of all parks and, head of all public works. Eva Haney had moved here 5 months ago. This was when I left. She'd moved there 5 months before I left, okay? Under her was Rocky Houston. Rocky Houston was the head of all parks and lands. He had only lived here 6 months before I left, okay? Under him was Eric Harrison, my supervisor and operations manager. Eric was a major in the Army and had just moved from Portland to Milwaukee, overseeing me, whose family had lived here for 5 generations. And so you're just sitting there going, okay, these folks are making decisions for Clark County, and they are how invested? They're not invested. They're not invested. So I have to tell you, it is a real concern because I'll give you an example. This Rocky Houston, head of all parks and lands, he actually introduced himself by saying, folks, just want to let you know, at the end of the day, I'm just a bureaucrat. I do what I'm told. And I went up to him after that meeting, and I don't think he appreciated a worker bee telling him this. I put my hand on his shoulder and I said, Rocky, please do not say that ever again, because you have to remember some of us live here. That's really what it comes down to. Now I have to tell you, as far as the individual people, you really got to take them on a person by person basis. However, I am seeing more and more instances where I really question, are these people making the decision, a certain decision, because it's right for Clark County, or because they are afraid of being losing their job because they didn't give the answer that the person wanted to hear. Whether it was the county manager or a council member. And yes, I've heard instances at the Heritage Farm where a council member called a particular person and said, run the numbers on this. And it may have included selling half of the Heritage Farm, but I can't guarantee. I digress. Anyhow, yeah. What advice would you have for young people who want to go into farming? Oh, that's easy. Have grandparents who are really wealthy and own a lot of land. No, I think all of us know that the problem with agriculture is it's a business that requires a ton of assets to get into. With that said, you can get into it on the cheap or a little bit at a time, and that's really what it comes down to. I would definitely tell a person, understand the economy you're getting into, understand what kind of farming you want to get into, what kind of crops do you want to grow, and I would really focus on, listen, find something specialized. It would be dang near impossible to say, okay, today I'm going to start, let's say, a wheat farm. You can't do that. But if you say, okay, I'm going to start a little vegetable farm in my backyard, and I'm going to sell down at the farmer's market, and all I'm going to sell is I'm going to sell eggs. God, what's up with eggs lately? My God. But I'm going to sell eggs at, I think I saw them for the first time in forever. My wife and I actually went to the Vancouver Farmers Market last weekend. I want to say I saw eggs going for $4.99 a dozen. I think. Eggs. I do eggs. That's the first one. And then, it's something else. Lettuce. Shoot, you could do rabbits, the rabbit meat. I don't know, something. So, anyhow, but the key is you gotta, like I said, you gotta look for that specialty product. Do you have estimates on the amount of ag land Clark County has lost in the past decade or the past 5 years? Yes, I do, and I didn't look them up. I'm sorry. I apologize, folks, and I can follow up with an email. Justin O'Day is our local ag extension agent, and he's the one that has all that information. And I say that because I know it's available online. He actually has it right at his fingertips. And dang it, my apologies, I've been busy enough, I just didn't pull the data. But it is tremendous, the amount of farms and ag land that we've lost in the last 10 years or so. Tied to this, how many small farms have sold, retired, or simply closed because of financial difficulties? I'm going to go out on a limb here. None. I personally believe that they didn't, if they folded or closed or okay, as we were saying, almost no farms have folded. They sold to development is what they did. And did they sell to development because it's a rhetorical question. Did they sell to development because they weren't profitable or because they couldn't be profitable? Now, there's a whole lot of folks that have an ear of, somebody at the county council, and they're telling them, how little money they make in agriculture. And I'll tell you this, is there's at least one council member that I kind of leaned over and said, do not ever repeat this, but we make, and he says, holy crap! And we said, don't listen to him. And in fact, this same gentleman, I said, when you hear somebody say, ag is unprofitable, the best thing for me to do is to be able to develop. I said, you answer them by saying, tell me about your business model. And I apologize. I apologize if that sounds heartless, it really does. But I find that an awful lot of folks are farming with a business model of the 1950s, right? Is the county putting any limits on how much land they will allow housing to be built on? And you brought up the comp plan. That is, I have to tell you folks, if you guys want to see ag land in Clark County continue to be a thing, you need to get into the comp plan. I have to tell you right now, I'm just now learning about how the comp plan works, and I am, let's just say, as they say, drinking from a fire hose. There is so much information to take in. I have to admit, I'm barely keeping my head above water right now. But Grange, you guys are our rural representation here in Clark County. I have to tell you, I pray that you guys are willing to step up, be vocal, and to be involved in the county comp plan this year as we renegotiate for the next, is it 10 years? I think it's 20 years. 20 years, oh that's right, 20-year comp plan. We need to be vocal. We need to tell the council that this is important. Preserving ag land is important. Putting a priority on making sure that farms can still operate in Clark County. It's not even about that farms can operate in Clark County. Who here, sorry, show of hands, who here likes going to Winco and seeing, sorry, this is how I spend my weekend. I go to Winco and look at where all the produce comes from. Okay, other than apples, we know, yeah, you go to Winco, you got a very good chance the apples are going to say, product of Washington. Where's all the other produce coming from? South America, right? Now, just to be clear, this time of year, yes, most of the product will come from South America because it's summer down there. Well, we had snow today, so. But, you know, even in the summertime for us, you go to your local grocery store, you grab some salad, product of Mexico, you know. Yeah, I guess, and by the way, if you guys didn't hear, Marie Blusenkamp Perez is going to have a listening session tomorrow, and we'll be there. And that's one of my big pushes for not just Clark County, but for the U.S. ag economy, is I would like to see us go what I've referred to as the Monroe Doctrine, or the agriculture Monroe Doctrine. This idea that we draw within our borders and we feed ourselves. The concept would kind of look like this. We feed ourselves first and we export the excess. Because here's the frustrating part. What are the crops that the U.S. exports? Wheat, corn, soybeans, canola. Yeah, we do some apples and stuff like that. But then, what do we import? We import berries and cole crops. That would be, sorry, vegetable farmer. Cole crops, so that's going to be, lettuce, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, all that stuff. Why are we growing that? That's the high dollar stuff. Why are we growing low dollar stuff and exporting it, and then importing all the high dollar stuff? I'd like to know why do we do that? It just seems counterproductive to me. And with that, there, folks, that's kind of what I have to present. I apologize if it doesn't sound extremely positive. Like I said, I think a lot of the problems we have in Clark County concerning agriculture really is my apologies for how this sounds, a mentality problem. Does that make sense? So questions? Somebody hit me with a hard one.
I got one.
Yes, sir.
Because part of this problem is this word called NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Yes, sir.
And we got an example in the area. Somebody had a farm and raised cattle on it.
Yep.
Pretty soon, the school moved in next door. You know what the school says? You guys get rid of that bull out of that steel. We don't want sex education going on. And that's what they're supposed to do.
Right.
So,
Right. Well,
but this is what we got above me, west of I-5. We destroyed the most beautiful land in the country for raising crops.
yep.
My uncle had the top of Coon Hill. What are we going to top of Coon Hill now? Winers and dryers.
Yep. That's it. That's it. Yeah. One of the things, and I have to tell you, if you guys wondered about, this camera I've got over here, that's the neat thing. You know what this camera represents? Is I get to go to, shall we say, the public. Now, the rest of the story is I don't know if this person's in Battleground or if this person's in New Zealand or Germany or whoever. But I get to go talk to the public via the computer and talk to them about real agriculture processes. And by the way, the reason that's important, I have a personal belief that there are a majority of the people, by the way, especially in Western Washington, they want food, they want fresh local, they want this, they want that, they want it provided for them, they want it, just a stone's throw away, and they want it cheap, they want it healthy, they want all this stuff, but they don't know enough about agriculture to know that there's some, my apologies, dirty things that happen. Sex between cows, okay? or that, right.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. That food goes in the front, poop comes out the back, exactly. Yeah. I'll give you a great example is that I was at the Heritage Farm, and for those who don't know, based out of the Heritage Farm is the WSU Extension Office, okay? the majority of the people that work for Washington State Extension actually work in what segment of Extension? Anybody know? Specifically out of Vancouver. What?
I thought it was probably landscaping.
Nope.
Like something along those lines.
Nope. Nope. Anybody? Food, health, education. They've got I don't know, what it is today. Let's call it 5, 6 people that all that they do is provide food, health, education to low-income families and school districts. Now I'm a little ticked off because I'm going, well, my kid's not in one of those school districts, so he doesn't get it. But that's beside the point. So anyhow, these nice young ladies that work in there, and I got, we were friends, we worked together, we're kind of co-workers. I was county, they were WSU, but that's fine. So one day they were walking across the parking lot there at the Heritage Farm, okay? Across the street is a farm, a family farm. I apologize, I used to remember their name, and the name escapes me right now. They had a truck out front, so-and-so's meats. And I look over and they're doing their thing, skinning a cow. It's like, hey girls, come over here. You see what they're doing over there? What are they doing? And we're just standing next to the gate, and I'm just watching, and they're like, what is that, Joe? I said, that pink thing? I said, yeah, what is that pink thing? I said, it's a cow. Oh, gross! Oh, gross! I'm like, I happen to know them personally enough to know none of them were vegans.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not vegans. They're not vegetarians. I go, you eat meat? They go, yeah.
There it is.
That's meat. There you go. That's it. I said, well, I didn't want to see it. Well, kind of an integral part of the process, right? So, yeah, that's, but that's where we're at today, is we've got an awful lot of folks, they like the burger, they just don't want to know where the burger comes from. Yeah. They want this, but they don't want to know that part of it. So, anyhow. Which, by the way, leads to a whole other discussion. I could keep going.
Maybe we can have an open forum on another day.
There you go. Pesticides and go.
Joe,
Yes, ma'am. Ann, how you doing?
are you a Granger?
I am not a Granger. No thanks.
Would you like to sign up?
Would I like to sign up? I have to tell you this. I would love to sign up. The problem is you heard about the list of all the dang committees I'm on right now. Not to mention, on top of that, my wife and I are foster parents to a 5-year-old. So my kid, by the way, my kids are 24, 21, 17. We were done. We are 6 months away from being empty nesters. And now we have a 5-year-old, thanks to my sister-in-law. So anyhow, so I apologize. The answer is I'll have to wait for a little while. But I would love to support you guys. I'd love to be part of you guys.
We'd love to have you.
Thank you.
And we would
All
like
right.
to say thank you very much
Oh,
for joining us
thank
tonight.
you.
You can
Thank
read
you.
the tag later.
Okay.
Roger's the one who did that.
Oh, Roger. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, appreciate it. I hope I didn't dash your hopes too much.
No, that's all good. So is that for the 5-year?